Donald Trump just suffered a humiliating defeat as both the James Comey and Letitia James cases have been dismissed. Now, this order just came in from Judge Curie, who completely rebuked the Trump administration's political weaponization of the DOJ, saying that first, Halligan's appointment was completely illegal. Therefore, the cases don't have any standing. But there was also an issue of how evidence was handled during the case. And absolutely, this is going to throw Donald Trump in a loop as he is going to be rage tweeting the rest of the day over this. Now, it should be noted that this case, both cases, were dismissed without prejudice. But at this point, it doesn't really seem like there is a path forward for the DOJ to try to reopen these cases and try them again. So clearly, Letitia James and James Comey are walking away from Donald Trump's vendetta with barely a scratch on them. And now they're going to be empowered. The way Donald Trump is when he gets somebody to settle, now they're going to be empowered, and more people that Donald Trump tries to bring to court. Stay tuned.
Breaking news, our descent into dictatorship continues as Donald Trump is now using the Pentagon to investigate a United States senator, former astronaut and former Navy fighter pilot jet, Mark Kelly, for stating a constitutional fact, which is that American troops are not allowed to follow illegal orders. Trump says that's like danger. Actually, Trump called for Kelly and the other 5 members of Congress to be killed, the ones who said this. The Pentagon is now investigating them with the goal of calling Kelly back up for active service duty and then court-martialing him. Guys, this is pure dictatorship. I have to read you this to the most dangerous statement out of the Pentagon. Here's the Pentagon statement about why what Kelly said was wrong. All service members have a legal obligation to obey lawful orders, the department said. Quote, orders are presumed to be lawful. In other words, yeah, you're not allowed to obey orders that are illegal, but if we give an order, it's lawful. No, that's really not the way it works. In Vietnam, for example, we gave a lot of orders to kill civilians that were not lawful, and the soldiers got into trouble. This is, again, unprecedented, using the Pentagon to harass and investigate and intimidate and threaten United States senators for stating, again, let's put a finer point on this, for stating the fact that Trump is not allowed to give illegal orders and military is not allowed to obey illegal orders. This wouldn't be a scandal if Trump wasn't planning on giving illegal orders. So freaking dangerous, guys. We're only 9 months into this, and this is the kind of dictatorial stuff these people are doing. Unbelievable.
And another huge loss for Donald Trump this morning, as we are learning that the indictments against both James Comey and Letitia James have been dismissed by a judge. The judge that dismissed those indictments said that Lindsay Halligan was not properly in her position because they had not gone through the channels for Congress to approve her. And those of us who work in the law have been screaming this for months and months, that Trump is not going through the proper channels to achieve the things he wants to do. Many of the things that Trump has wanted to do, he could have done if he would have followed the proper procedures, but that didn't happen in this case, and Lindsay Halligan was not invested with the authority to bring those indictments, so they are invalid indictments which have been dismissed. Now, another prosecutor can bring charges if the statute of limitations hasn't run, but in Comey's case, I'm afraid they may be out of luck because the statute of limitations was just days away, which is one of the reasons they had Lindsay Halligan file this indictment. With Letitia James, I'm not sure when the statute of limitations is, so someone else could look at that if they believe they can make a case, which, again, based on everything we have seen, they don't really have a case. These were political opponents that Trump was on a revenge parade to try to get indicted, and now they have both been dismissed. So, good news. Justice is prevailing, although it may look like it's a little tiny bit at a time. We'll take the win. Go love your neighbor.
Welcome to today's edition of Trump Says This, Trump Says That. Senator Mark Kelly, the Pentagon today said that Senator Mark Kelly, who is a retired naval officer, was under investigation by the Pentagon, and they would determine if further actions were required, including recall, which means a retired military member could be brought to military trial for their actions. This is related to the PSA that he and 5 other congressmen and women put out directing military members to disobey illegal orders. This is something that is all over the UCMJ. Military members are trained in this all of the time to disobey illegal orders. They just put it in a video. You want your military to disobey illegal orders so it prevents dictators and authoritarians. And Trump didn't like that. He no likey. And the Republican Party didn't like that because it's not like they came to these people's defense, the veterans' defense. They're all veterans. And so he got a bunch of attention out of his response to that, where he called for, death and hanging, and called them treasonous and seditionists, all this sort of stuff. He got attention out of that, and it pulled breath away from Epstein. And so now he's doubling down on that. He obviously likes to do this. He's done this with Letitia James and Comey. By the way, both of those cases were just dismissed by a federal judge because the prosecutor was appointed unlawfully. And so, again, this is a Trump says this, Trump says that. He's trying to raise attention and fear from people about going after his political opponents. And this is not going to work, just like it didn't work with Comey and James. It's not going to work here. So the Pentagon and Pete Hegseth can say, it's not the military, it's the suits, and it's Hegseth and his cronies, can say that they're going to go after Kelly. And all it is it's attention, right? There's nothing there to go after. A video reminding military members to follow military law, which they already do, which is already all over all of their teachings. That's factual. It's just factual, right? And so, but they're going to draw attention with it. They're going to squeeze it for every ounce they can, hoping that it pulls more breath away from Epstein and they can somehow get through the holidays without too much going on. This is just after the House Oversight Committee, I believe, found that there was an intense cover-up with the Epstein files. So please be aware of that. This is an attention getter. They're going to push all of the buttons. Send some love if you can to the 6 veterans who went out and reminded military members not to obey illegal orders, because they are the targets of not only Trump and his, Republican Party cronies, but just some nut jobs too, with several death threats being levied against many of them. So be aware of that. And yeah, that's the current situation now. None of this obviously will go to people like, Mike Flynn, who basically called for a coup. He was the national security advisor for Trump a couple years back. He's disappeared a little bit, but big player in QAnon. His name's not mentioned when, he's basically directly calling for a coup of the United States government. So something to think about. But yeah, this is a barking dog thing. And then, go back to focusing on the Epstein files and the House Oversight Committee and intense cover-up. That's the kind of stuff he's trying to keep you from working on, keep you from talking about. And that's what this is. Okay, thanks.
All right, well, I don't do this very often. It's about 10 minutes until 10 a.m. West Coast time on Monday, November 24th. Breaking news, a federal judge has dismissed the charges, the felony indictments against James Comey, former FBI director, and Letitia James, Attorney General for the state of New York. The same judge found that U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia, Lindsay Halligan, was invalidly appointed. These charges have been dismissed without prejudice, meaning that the Department of Justice could choose to rebring these charges in the future if they want to. However, the statute of limitations has already lapsed relative to the charges against James Comey. So the DOJ, as a matter of law, cannot indict him again. So reading from an article, a federal judge earlier today dismissed the criminal charges against FBI Director James Comey, citing that interim U.S. Attorney Lindsay Halligan was unlawfully appointed. Comey's lawyers had also argued that the prosecution was selective and vindictive, and that there were procedural errors in how the case was brought before the grand jury. There was gross incompetence on the part of Lindsay Halligan. She got the law wrong at least twice in front of the grand jury. She said that James Comey will be compelled to testify at trial. No criminal defendant can be compelled to testify against himself at trial under the Fifth Amendment. She also said some version of, trust us, we have better evidence. We're going to bring it at trial. I just can't show it to you here now. Hack. Just a clown and a hack. A final version of the indictment reportedly was not presented to the entire grand jury for a vote, while the Justice Department is likely to appeal the ruling that dismissal is a significant legal victory for Comey. They can't bring the charges again against him. Reasons for the dismissal. Unlawful appointment. The primary reason for the dismissal was the judge's finding that interim U.S. Attorney Lindsay Halligan was unlawfully appointed, and that led to the dismissal of the charges. I'll have to look into this a little further, but from what I understand is because the first legally appointed U.S. attorney for this district resigned, then it was up to the full appellate court to select a new U.S. attorney for that area, as opposed to the White House being able to just appoint some lunatic like Lindsay Halligan. I think that's what they mean by this. Also, selective and vindictive prosecution. Comey's legal team also argued that the prosecution was vindictive and selective based on animus from President Trump towards James Comey. The judge's ruling cited these grounds as a basis for dismissal. Procedural errors. Comey's lawyers had also requested dismissal based on procedural errors, specifically that a final version of the indictment was not shown to the full grand jury for a vote. That's a hard no. There's at least one case law or one case directly on point that if you don't show the final version of an indictment to a grand jury and the full grand jury votes on that version of the indictment, then there is no indictment, period. But statute of limitations has already lapsed relative to James Comey. So I think he's free from here on out. I think that's that.
Hey guys, I'm losing my voice, but I want to talk about this Ukraine-Russia deal where there was this 28-point plan that the U.S. came up with for Ukraine and peace, and then there were some questions about whether it was actually Russia that wrote it or whether it was the U.S., and there's been this back and forth. It's like impossible to follow, but the bottom line is this plan, this peace plan that was given to Ukraine is just a complete capitulation of Ukraine. It's awful. And everybody knows this. And the European allies know this, and hopefully they stand with Ukraine when Ukraine rejects this. But I just want to make the point that because there were people that thought Donald Trump was going to be good for the economy, and he's been terrible for the economy is a wreck. And because they thought they liked how he just says what needs to be said, blah, 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 even though he's a complete con artist, and he makes stuff up all the time. He's like a 5-year-old little boy that's still trying to win his dad's approval. How pathetic is that? But because he won, because there were people that bought into that lie, we are being shamed on the world stage. The rest of the world thinks our president, and they're right, and our diplomacy is a joke. We are throwing decades of hard work and reputation building down the toilet because Donald Trump is more interested in personally profiting from countries like Qatar and Saudi Arabia than he is in actually leading and representing the United States of America. I promise you, in about 10 years, there will be no person in the world that will ever admit that they supported Donald Trump. What a shame.
So you're telling me that all these large Trump supporter accounts on X were secretly from Israel, Nigeria, Europe, and Russia? Of course they are. Of course they are, because in real life, conservative ideas are not popular. And this is why they've had to fake their popularity for years. And the reason this is such effective propaganda for the Republican Party is because conservatives don't know shit about politics. All they know is they want to be on a winning team. And not a lot of people know this, but for years, they've been artificially getting conservatives on the New York Times bestseller list because CPAC and the RNC, they buy thousands of copies of conservatives' books, and then they just hand them out at events. And this is their way of getting Don Jr. to be a New York Times bestseller. And this is also why every day we see more and more AI accounts of hot women here on TikTok being like, hey, if you're not easily offended and you support our troops, follow me. And then you see all these lonely men in the comment section being like, yeah! But in real life, conservative ideas are not popular, and Trump has only gotten less popular since he took office. And as I told you guys before, I've been screen recording lots of Trump supporters that have completely turned on the guy in the last few months. So I'll be back with more satisfying MAGA crash outs so you can see how unpopular Trump and the Republican Party are in real life. All right, guys, I also had an amazing time this weekend meeting people at the Remove the Regime rally. It was awesome being around like-minded people and meeting people. It was just really great. So I'll be back to talk about that a little bit more. I love you guys, and I'll see you soon. All right.
Last week, I filmed about a half hour's worth of me just reading comments from X to show you how many people there are that are leaving, that are done with Trump, or that are supporting like Marjorie Taylor Greene, and how severe the divide is over there. Like, because when I'm over there, you know, yeah, there's still support, but the change is so massive and the factions have divided so severely. I wanted people to really have it kind of pounded into their brain that this is really happening. But it was a half hour long of me just reading those things. I don't know why I decided not to post it. I think it's because I feel like every day it gets stronger and the things they say are bolder. And so I kind of let go the ones that were the day before, because this is moving so quickly. And yet a lot of you are still like, I want to believe you, but I'm not seeing it in my own family. So I decided to read ones that I just found last night. And hopefully this will help you see what I'm seeing. And remember, this is just a tiny fraction of what I'm seeing. It is everywhere. How on earth will the GOP campaign ahead of 2026 if Mamdani and his policies are now considered rational and good for New York? Dems will win in 2028 as well. This one's Laura Loomer. I've had so many conversations with people about the fractures on the right. It doesn't matter what anyone says. This is over. It's only about one thing and one thing only. And no, it's not any single foreign country. This is all about 2028 and stealing the MAGA title from Trump or destroying it so someone else can reinvent what comes next. It's about hijacking the GOP. Everyone who is posturing is only trying to position themselves for a 2028 run. And yes, that includes Marjorie Taylor Greene and Tucker Carlson. J.D. Vance is going to learn the hard way that his so-called friends aren't his friends. It's sad to see so many people fall for this very obvious psyop. I see through them all. Laura, it's J.D. Vance, a never-Trumper just a few years ago with backing from tech oligarchs who is trying to usurp the MAGA movement, not Marjorie Taylor Greene and Tucker Carlson, who've been mostly true MAGA through it all. This is about the fact that Trump has hardly delivered on his 2024 campaign promises. Americans do not feel prioritized. Exactly, it has to do with economy and affordability. I know more people struggling more than ever to pay their bills. If the economy stays like this next year, I think Dems could win both chambers, to be honest. Trump is getting bad advice again. Trump is playing to his donors. Trump's hands are tied. He means well. Folks, Trump is complicit in the whole thing. He's been playing for the Israeli-led New World Order all along. He is pacifying the people for the Great Reset. Trump is a deep state puppet installed to usher in the New World Order agendas you would have resisted under a Democrat. He's just another puppet. We need a new party, the Independent AF Party. President Trump is doing a very good job of hijacking MAGA all by himself. He should be focusing on providing high-quality jobs for Americans, especially young people. Instead, he focused on importing tens of millions of underqualified legal immigrants from Asia to take American jobs and undercut American wages. That's the whole ballgame. Republicans will get wiped out if he doesn't change course right now. You're exactly right. The infighting isn't organic. It's all 2028 positioning. Some folks want to ride MAGA, others want to kill it and rebuild it in their image. Trump built this movement, and now everyone's scrambling for a piece. A lot of friends are showing their true colors. The issue is that Trump has delivered more promises to Miriam Adelson than the 77 million who voted for him. Midterms are going to be a bloodbath. After his actions yesterday, I guess this is with Mom Donnie, I'm starting to wonder if Trump is just positioning to protect his investments. I hope he is as concerned about the party moving forward. People are ignoring the obvious. The right is being pulled apart by those already plotting for 2028, trying to dilute or hijack MAGA for their own ambitions. Trump is doing enough to kill MAGA on his own. As a Trump voter, if you were honest and cared about MAGA, you'd call it out too. J.D. Vance has no chance in 2028. I'll say it for you. The blame starts with Trump. If he had stuck with standing firm and hard with and for MAGA, none of this crap would be taking place. The moment he sold us out for cash from the UAE for his family is the moment MAGA took a hit. We are MAGA, not Trump. The left sticks together and the right does not. It's always been this way. What? 3-time voter for Trump here. He is a traitor to the American people with his H-1B policy. That is a fact. Vance is not going to be the nominee. Rubio is. I said that last one because there are so many people that are saying a different person will be the next leader of MAGA or of the Republican Party. And that just goes to show that when Trump's gone, the cult itself is gone. Everybody else thinks it's going to play out a completely different way. And in a cult, they would know who the leader is going to be, and they would already be aligning behind them. They don't have any idea what's coming next. It seems like Trump did a good job destroying it himself. I just saw Don Jr. worshiping a Hindu god in India. We get it. He used the Christians just like he uses everyone else. JD is cooked if he keeps defending Tucker. It comes down to the administration turning its back on voters, and yes, that includes that one country. It is not a psyop. It is genuinely people totally fed up with the Israel lobby conditioning the country and its leaders. Enough! You're a cunt, Mr. President. The game is dead. We need to give it up. Losing lots of respect to Trump these last few months. Mad respect to Marjorie Taylor Greene. America First is now separate from MAGA. They won't be celebrating when the midterms are over. Let it die. MAGA was a lie, and all lies should die. You should call it the bait and switch party now. I find very often I have shared more ideals and common ground with people on the left than I do with the Israel First boomer conservatives. It sounds fine to me to team up, America First, and we can hammer out the rest when we're all back on our feet. I'm feeling hopeless. It appears Trump's main enjoyment as president is making deals. Otherwise, why is he palling around with a bunch of slimy characters? It's not even America First anymore. It's looking more and more like the same old crap. Marjorie's exit is a clear sign that Trump is not the solution to what ails us. We need to keep looking. Dissension is healthy for a government. Zionists need to stop fooling themselves. I am an American raised in the South, a Marine with wife and kids, and I personally know at least 10 people in real life who are done with Zionism. I will be sitting out in 2026. The GOP doesn't deserve our votes. Even with the majority, they are ignoring the voter mandates. I would feel nauseous voting for Republican right now. Dems and Republicans both want to run out the clock on Trump to get back to DC business as usual. I'm sitting out of national politics until we get real America First candidates. Along with millions of others, I'll take care of my state. And to think I spent 9 years believing in MAGA, lost friends from MAGA, what a joke. Hope Trump likes getting impeached however many times. Trump is slowly becoming the swamp he promised to drain. I'm really regretting my 3 votes for him. This is a cult of personality, and when the personality rides off into the sunset, what's left for us? JD, LOL, please. I voted for Trump 3 times. I just wanted no war, and Trump sending money for bombs in Gaza is why I will sit it out. MAGA is dead. The midterms will be the last nail in the MAGA coffin. Looking forward to the investigations and indictments. I'm not voting ever again. I'm tired of this non-action. 10 years of hard fighting to get here for Republicans to do nothing. America is toast. The only way to win is by not playing. The revolution will inevitably happen. Just stay prepped to dodge chaos. The old MAGA crowd that I've run with since 2015 are all done. Most changed their party to independent, and a lot just aren't going to vote, period. I predict Trump will switch parties before the midterm, and then it has a picture of him and Mom Donnie. Trump and the GOP deserves to lose. Biden didn't make it bad enough. It has become way worse before it gets better. Trump and the Republicans failed. They had their shot and blew it. I'm starting to think Biden would have been better. Most I know are sitting the next election out. Why bother? Republicans want to lose the midterms. Once you understand that, everything they don't do makes sense. Unless Elon starts a new party, I won't vote. I cannot handle the gaslighting from Trump anymore. You hear that? That is the sound of the MAGA base breaking up like icebergs. We are done. Bye-bye, MAGA. Trump fucked us all. He's a lame duck. MAGA is over. Trump's agenda is Qatar first, not America first. Trump is Trump first, not America first. Trump is going down as the worst president in history, worse than Biden, which I never thought was possible. So that's a lot, but I have hundreds more. If you want to hear those, let me know.